It was a cold evening in Memphis, Tennessee, and 17-year-old Jamarcus Lee sat outside a small diner with only 15 crumpled dollars in his pocket, money he had earned from washing cars and carrying groceries, money he had promised himself he would use to buy bread and milk for his little sister Lila so she would not go to sleep hungry again. Yet as he looked through the diner window he saw an elderly couple sitting in the corner, holding hands tightly while the waitress explained that their card had been declined, and he saw the man's trembling hand reach for his wife's as she whispered with embarrassment that perhaps they had ordered too much, and something in Jamarcus's chest twisted because he knew that shame, he knew the hollow ache of hunger and the heavy weight of poverty, so before he could even think twice he stepped inside, placed all of his money on the counter, and told the waitress softly, "I'll pay for them," which made the old man look up in shock and the woman's eyes fill with tears as she asked why a stranger would do such a thing, and Jamarcus, shifting on his worn-out sneakers, simply answered, "Because sometimes God lets us be someone else's angel, and tonight it's my turn," and then he left quietly, heart pounding, stomach empty but soul strangely full, never imagining that this single act of kindness would change his life forever. The next morning, as sunlight broke into the tiny apartment he shared with Lila, there came a firm knock on the door, and when he opened it he saw a sleek black car gleaming at the curb and in front of him stood a tall man in a tailored suit alongside the same elderly couple from the diner, and the man introduced himself as William Henderson, owner of Henderson Enterprises, explaining that those were his parents whom Jamarcus had helped, and that their story had touched him deeply. Then William placed a check in Jamarcus's hand, and when Jamarcus looked down his breath caught because the amount written was $1 million, and when he tried to protest, William said with firm kindness that this was no charity but gratitude, because Jamarcus had given when he had so little, proving that wealth is measured not by money but by generosity of heart, and tears filled Jamarcus's eyes as he thought of Lila, of their cold apartment, of all the nights they had gone without food, realizing in that instant that his entire life had shifted, that God had answered his quiet prayers in a way he never could have imagined. With the money he first bought food, clothes, and medicine for Lila, making sure she would never again fall asleep hungry, then he enrolled her in a good school so she could chase the future their mother had once dreamed for her, but Jamarcus knew this blessing was not meant for them alone, so he began using the money to open a small community kitchen in the neighborhood where anyone could come and eat with dignity, no questions asked, and he remembered every cold night he had gone to bed hungry, every time he had longed for someone to show kindness, and now he had the chance to be that someone, and word quickly spread until his kitchen grew into a foundation providing scholarships for poor children, mentoring programs for fatherless boys, and housing for struggling mothers, and though people began to call him a hero he never forgot the beginning, never forgot that it all started with one plate of food and the courage to give when he had nothing, and sometimes at night he would sit by Lila's bed, watching her sleep peacefully, remembering his late mother's gentle voice telling him when he was small, "Son, no matter how little you have, always share it, because kindness will come back to you in ways you cannot see," and now those words echoed as truth, and years later, standing on a stage at a charity gala, dressed in a suit but still with the same humble eyes, Jamarcus told the crowd that kindness does not ask how much you have but whether you are willing to give, that the night he gave away his last $15 he thought he had lost everything, yet God showed him that when you give from the heart you never lose, you only multiply, and the audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause while in the front row William Henderson and his parents watched with tears of pride, knowing that a boy who once had nothing had become a man who gave everything. And the story of Jamarcus Lee spread far and wide as a reminder that even the smallest act of compassion can ripple outward to transform lives, proving that sometimes the poorest boy can be the richest soul, and that one small gesture of kindness can open the door to miracles.